Hey again, welcome back to my channel, and today's video is actually something I've been inspired to do lately, as I've been feeling very spiritual recently, and so I did what any normal person would do when they're starting to believe in the higher powers. I decided to revisit Angel Beats. This show was something that I really enjoyed coming to the first few episodes. I was told a lot about this show and how it was a must watch and that it was very emotional. I did not expect to really like these wacky, funny and charming characters at around the 4 to 5 episode mark, but I did. Big spoiler alert if you haven't seen Angel Beats, but I was shocked to see what happened to these characters at the end of it all. Yes, I was also teary-eyed, but still shocked at what had happened to these side characters that was such a prominent part of the show up until a certain point where they just randomly disappeared. I thought for a while that these characters who were introduced and had established themselves as legit characters were just forgotten about and discarded, until I had revisited it and it was like God's light had shone on me and the answer came to me. Think of me now as a prophet who will explain what had actually happened. There was one character who I liked the most. He made me fall in love with him, no homo, but for real, this guy was so cool. He always kept a calm mind, and he was just that one friend who would always be themselves, and you could always feel comfortable around. That was the overall vibe that TK gave off. Even though he didn't get many lines throughout the show, and when he did talk, it was in a weird assortment of cryptic sentences in English, he was always there to make me laugh, and I loved how the other characters were able to interact with him and accept him just as much as any other character. He was a gem of a character that deserved to get his ending. That's what I'm here to do today. You may have been catching these religious references I've been dropping so far and they're confused as hell, but it does relate because I will explain how TK was in fact the one pulling the strings behind this world. His fun-loving and energetic personality was used as a mask to hide his true intentions. TK was not an actual human, but a god, a deity living among these deceased high schools. The whole plot of Angel Beats was that our MC Otonashi was transported to this mysterious world where he meets this group of high schoolers who are armed with guns and other weapons. He's told by Yuri, the leader of the high schoolers, that he, like every other person in this world, has died, and they are in this world where they cannot die and are immortal. Otonashi joins them in their goal of defeating another student who is the student council president of the world, who they proclaim as Tenshi, while her real name is Tachibana Kaede. The plot, of course, isn't that big of a deal in the show and isn't really the main focus. It's more so on the characters. But anyway, let's go back to TK. We get introduced to TK when Yuri is introducing her crew, and he immediately stands being the only foreigner around and speaking in broken English. I'll be honest, I found it pretty endearing. I know other people may find it annoying, but I was eating that shit up. I couldn't get enough of TK with his wicked dance moves and style. But now, if you really think about TK and compare him with his other friends in this world, he is pretty weird. Like, I know there's weird people, like that one dude who keeps taking his shirt off, and that chick who has a weird obsession with stuffed animals, but TK is on another level. He barely speaks, and when he does speak, it's just some jumbled up mess of words that rarely have any correlation to each other. This is literally him throughout the show. He never seems to have any serious moments, sad moments, or even joyous moments. He's always the same energetic, dancing, and cryptic worded character. It's impossible for a human to be able to keep up this character for so long, to the point where even if they were hiding it, it would eventually affect their mind in some way. Or they would have a break in character at some point, but we never see this with TK. Almost every other character seems to be able to show off a differing range of emotions and be able to act as humans. But TK seems to be a mix of Skater Boys, Hippie, and Disco Stu from The Simpsons. I finally realized the act that TK was putting on and realized that no other human will be able to do anything like this without eventually breaking character. When I looked at all the scenes TK was in, he was always moving around silently with his bandana covering his eyes, but still being open enough to watch and listen to everything his friends are doing. Whether that be fighting with each other, singing, or defeating zombie students, he would be engaging, but never more than that. Never expressing what he thought of the situation or showing any concern over anything. My theory is that TK is the ruler of this place and is the god that governs the world. He created this world for the purpose of observing the students brought here after death, and he is the reason that the characters, when they find their happiness and their content, are able to pass on to the afterlife. For a large majority of the show, the main group would be fighting Tachibana, and she was considered as a contributing factor towards their imprisonment in this world. But when they found out that she was just like them and had nothing to do with the creation of the world, they began to befriend her and accepted her as one of their own. I imagine this was also something that TK was testing, whether or not the students will be able to come together and figure out their differences. TK was basically evaluating every student and trying to identify if they were ready to move on from this transitional world. We know that this world is made for the purpose of accommodating those who have died in their teenagers, while also having passed on without completing a purpose they once had or are still filled with some sort of regret. This is the common occurrence that is consistent throughout the past of each student, and TK seems to be the overseer of this world, allowing those who have achieved the goals they weren't able to do in the real world, achieve them in this world instead. I mean, they even say in the show, but they don't really know anything about TK, and he is the one from the group that is the most mysterious in terms of where he came from. And it's not like he's gonna start talking about his past when he only speaks exclusively in 80 Rock Band's catchphrases. It's actually pretty funny if you think about how TK went about and created this character of his. He's trying to create a whole different person, but it's like his knowledge on how humans are supposed to act and look is based on late 80 rock stars. But instead of fitting in with everyone and not attracting attention, he achieves the legit opposite and stands out the most from everyone else. He's just lucky that the whole cast of characters don't really care enough. Not to mention how weird and diverse in personalities the rest of the main group are. Anyway though, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about it and how true you think this could be. Thanks for watching.